I'm excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast because there is one skill that if you learn and if you master, it can completely change your life. And that skill is a skill that many recruiters hate. It is sales. And we, like recruiters, we sell candidates, we sell clients. Yes, this is a relationship business, but the skill set of sales is the one thing that can take you from an average recruiter to an exceptional high billing recruiter. So I'm excited to have my guests, Jake Grant and Josh Alltop from the Sales League, to talk about how to up your sales game. And each of them are directly responsible for over $10 million in sales. And I joke around with Jake a lot. Jake has done such a good job opening up my wallet and getting me to cut checks and use my credit card, just because of the sales techniques that they've learned, they've implemented, and they teach is actually probably some of the most progressive that I've seen out there. Especially, like, you guys are going to love this. Us recruiters, we're still, many of us, following some sort of like training from the back in the 80s. Welcome to 2023. And Jake and Josh, I'm excited to have you guys on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for
Awesome.
having us.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
So real quick, before we start doing a deep dive on sales, Jake or Josh, do you guys want to talk a little bit about the Sales League?
Yeah, sure. That would be great. The Sales League basically was birthed out of Jake and I working for an amazing company where we were helping other businesses grow and scale. We learned a lot of skill sets, from sales to running CS teams to management. We messed up a ton, and then we took all of that mess up and we were like, oh, let's fix it. And then it kind of birthed this relationship. Jake and I worked together in the capacity where, honestly, we just laughed a lot and had a lot of fun and developed a relationship. And then when we both decided to transition to, just wanting to do something different, we were like, yo, let's partner up. And so then we partnered up, and then through a series of things, birthed the Sales League, which is a way for us to, first and foremost, help a business know how to find great talent, know how to train great talent, and know how to keep great talent so that they can, in essence, grow and either cash flow or cash out on their business. The other arm to what we do is just basically a hands-on training that allows us to train, honestly, walks of life, sales professionals from all walks of life. And we have a lot of fun doing it. So that's pretty much the Sales League in my 30-second elevator pitch.
So one of the things, like when it comes to like learning about sales is a very difficult skill set. It is tough. Like for somebody that like wants to learn more about sales, like what are some of the things that you should initially start doing?
One of the things that I would say, and Josh is probably going to have his own answer, but I think who you are, this sounds odd, but like who you are as a person is going to have more of an impact on your sales ability than like what to say, right? It's always about like how you say things, not exactly what you say. What I mean by that, like, so simply like studying things on like high performance, like we always tell sales reps, whenever they're having like an off week, the first thing that we're going to audit is not what they're saying on the phone, but like, are you like sleeping? Are you like working out? Like, what has you excited? Do you still love what you're selling? Like these simple high performance things are like the easiest things to fix, but a lot of times they're the most like overlooked. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely agree. I think, as we call them, like, non-measurable metrics are what are extremely powerful in knowing where somebody is at in their skill set. But when it comes to what you're talking about, what do you need to know? I think you first need to redefine sales. And the first thing that you said, Benjamin, it was recruiters, this sticky, ucky word, sales. And it's like, well, let's first ask yourself, why is that disclaimer even have to be there? I get why you say it because I've had to say it, but I get why you say it. But the question to me is, why are we even saying that? It's because we have a wrong, or we have programmed an incorrect understanding of what sales is. If we truly understood what sales was, which to me is personally solving a problem, okay? And the only way you can solve a problem is to lead a prospect to the best possible decision and outcome for themselves, okay? Then when it comes to what skill set do I need, how do I train, who do I listen to, what do I talk to? Now you're aligning yourself with who's going to help me solve people's problems the most, who's going to help me take a prospect to the best possible outcome for themselves the most? What information, skill set, tactics, yada yada, all the other cool things that the gurus run ads for? Where do I go to learn those things? I think if recruiters could realize that sales actually was just simply solving a business problem for people, then they would realize, oh, that's why relational equity works, is because I'm leveraging something to help somebody, as opposed to, man, we're going to be cool and we're going to be buddy buddy. And then you'll allow me to like charge you $6,000 for, a lead, or 10% or 3% or whatever their freaking, yearly salary income is. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And, we always like, at least in the recruiting side, like, try to stay above 10%. Most likely, like we're pushing 20 to 35% of the first year salary when we're working with that stuff. So if you're a recruiter out there doing like 3 to 10, please, for the love of God.
Yeah. Don't do
get
that.
better at sales.
That's what I just see people doing. That's not normally good, but yeah.
Oh, no. And I mean, the reason why people typically do 3 to 10% is because they have never learned the skill set of sales and the value that they give to an organization.
Yep. Or they don't know actually how to deliver, and they're just trying to do volume and mass quantity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to, that's the easiest and quickest way to burn yourself out and get yourself out of the recruiting game. Mm. Now, you mentioned, kind of like, okay, so you learning about sales, reframing how you think about sales. And sales is a skill set that you have to develop. What are some ways that recruiters and, account managers can really start developing that skill set?
Yeah, I think easiest thing, low hanging fruit. You've got books, you've got podcasts, and then you have actual programs that you can go through, right? So once you're going through those things, it's just a matter of figuring out what's best for you, right? Where do you want to go, and what is it that you're actually trying to learn? I think that's really important to know, like, okay, what is it that I'm missing that I need help with? If it's, I have a fear of speaking, well, then that's a skill set you need to go and learn. If it's that I don't know actually how to interview people. I mean, one of the things, Jake, right? I mean, one of the things that we teach business owners more than anything in their recruiting process is, how does that actual interview go? Because who's phenomenal at interviews? Salespeople. Yeah. Salespeople are great at interviewing. So how do you actually vet them and weed through that? Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a skill set that you can learn. So, you can obviously read it in books and podcasts or whatever, but also sometimes just getting in the right organizations, like we train on that on the Sales League. Okay. So if you were to come in with us, we would show you how you do that, and how do you actually vet a prospect to see, do you got something real or something not?
Well, before like going into like vetting a prospect, like bringing on a new recruiter and bringing on a new account manager in the recruiting space, you like interviewing is, and looking for them and headhunting the right person is super important. But what kind of structure are they walking into? Like, talk about setting up a sales structure and onboarding, because I think onboarding is one of the most important things when it comes to a new hire success.
Yeah. Jake, do you want it, or you want me to go?
Yeah. So, specifically like on the onboarding side of things and what that looks like, for every organization, I would say it can be a little different. Most important thing is we want to make sure, like, as soon as someone comes in, they have everything that they need. So like tech access, like there's so many times we've been in organizations and this is like a super simple fix, but like when you have someone that you're bringing them on the team, like what is all of the tools and resources that they're going to need, right? Like, are you using HubSpot as your CRM? What are you using to call leads? All of those things. That's like, if you can knock that out, man, that's going to provide like such a much easier process. And one of the things that we like to do as well is, like, our onboarding process with some companies is we'll typically take if we can, a couple days to onboard people. So typically we'll bring someone on, like a new rep or maybe a group of reps on a Wednesday, and we'll actually send them videos onboarding like their tech stack and everything, but then we'll have specific calls for them to attend. So they'll go into their Google Calendar, and like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we will actually go in and we'll have a like our assistant go through and block out their entire calendar so they know exactly 9 o'clock I'm going to meet with the sales managers and they're going to go over like vision. Cool. And then at 10:30 I'm going to dive into my CRM training and I'm going to meet with, one of the guys on the team and they're going to show me how I'm working leads. So if you can actually block things out into a schedule for them, like you want to make things honestly just dummy proof. Like just not that you're hiring dumb people, but you just want they're coming into a new organization. They don't know the ins and outs of it. So if you can like block off time on your calendar, again, we typically onboard on a Wednesday. And that way the following Monday, we take 3 days to onboard. Following Monday, they're up and off to the races. So,
And you might like, obviously larger organizations might have a 2-week onboarding process. There might be certain organizations where, there's like 30 days of, whatever, like training, product knowledge. I don't know. Every organization is different. In these smaller to medium sized businesses, what you're seeing is, it takes about 3 days to onboard somebody. But as Jake said, the more conducive you can make that environment for success, I think that probability you're going to have a better opportunity for that sales professional to feel at ease and like, okay, I can come in here and I know where to go and where to start. Most sales professionals just get handed a call, a phone and said, all right, start calling somebody. And it's like, well, who are we calling? What are we calling? When I get a hold of them, what am I saying? How am I saying it? And then the business owners are like, you're your sales professional. You should know how to do that. And then I just want to go to the business owners and be like, did you know how to do everything when you first started? Did you 100% know how to do SOPs and process instructions? Hell no, you didn't know how to do that. It took some time. You got to learn that stuff. So I think if we could start giving sales professionals a little bit of space to succeed, and then that moment, if it's 60 days, 90 days, then crack the whip on them and make sure that it's like, hey, here are your standards. Here's your accountability. Here are your KPIs, your metrics, whatever, right? Your OKRs, whatever it is that you call them. Here they are. And now you are held accountable to that. But what I'm noticing in onboarding is the same thing as I'm noticing once a professional is actually placed in a job. There's no accountability. Well, I gave you a document full of things to study. Yeah, but Mr. Business Owner, Mr. Sales Manager, did you actually follow up with that? Did you find out if they actually watched those videos? Did you test them on the information to see if they actually understood it, comprehended it, and can regurgitate it back? Again, we got a bunch of people that don't understand learning. They don't understand what it means for somebody to truly learn it. To truly learn something, not only do I have to hear it, see it, watch it, whatever, I got to bring that information in. Now I have to be able to regurgitate it back out to say, did I even learn it, understand it, and comprehend it? And can then, third level, can I teach it to somebody else?
Yeah,
And
that's important too. What Josh says about the teaching side of things is there's typically like 3 different ways to enhance how you're comprehending your learning. Is, you'll hear something like for the first time, then you'll repeat it, right? You can repeat it to someone, you can write it down, and then you can teach it. And so onboarding can actually be a phenomenal way, if done correctly, to enhance like your current team as well, right? So like if you have a team member that is really good at managing their pipeline or really good at, closing deals over the phone, whatever their role is. Yeah. If you can get them to teach other people, what that's going to do is that's actually going to make them better within your organization because they're having to take the things that come to them naturally that they've been doing for 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, however long they've been at the organization. And that now they have to take that information and they have to show someone else how to do that, right? That's just going to make them better. That's going to make you more money for your organization as well.
I have one more. Can we keep going, Benjamin, on this?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. I'm soapboxing now because it's early in the morning. It's Friday. I didn't play very.
We'll pause real quick. We'll pause.
Okay.
The reason why I love this onboarding discussion and going into learning and everything, most recruiters, when they start off in the industry, don't make it past 6 months. Like they don't make it past. There are so many different reasons. Yes, sales is hard, but I remember when I first started as a recruiter, I actually had 2 offers. One offer was a lot more money, way better commission, worked from home, but it was you just figure it out. And coming out of college, dumb as hell. My mentor actually sat me down and told me, you will fail in that job if you take it. So I actually went to a place where it had a lower commission, lower base structure, but a lot more training. And she's just like, your entire career will be set up successfully because if you go to that one organization versus the other. But so many recruiters, and us, people that have been in the industry for a long time, it's in our head. But we're not doing a good job transferring that to the new generation. So, all right, Josh, sorry, go.
Okay, based off of what you just said, I'm going to give away something for free that can make all of you recruiters a ton of money. Okay? It's something that we do and we charge for and we make a ton of money doing it. Not only can the business most likely not find great talent, you know what they don't know how to do? They don't know how to onboard and transition a new hire into a successful hire, which is also, we could talk about the turnover rate as well. Okay? In your recruiting business, and you might disagree because this is your podcast and you would know better, but I'm going to say it anyways. Every recruiter to me should have an onboarding process, a generic template onboarding process. So that way, they could charge more if they wanted to and install it into the business and then help actually onboard that. Because if you want to have a truly successful, repeatable client that will come back to you, give them value. So not that when you just give them that person, that person actually has an opportunity to succeed and win. Because what we are seeing in these businesses, they have no freaking idea how to truly bring somebody in successfully. They might say, yeah, here's our SOPs and here's your tech stack. Best of luck, get to work. But they don't know, like, how do you know that prospect actually, or that, that I call them a prospect, but once they come on, right? Like the sales professional, how do you know that your team member is going to succeed? How can you ensure best chances for them to succeed? Those first, Jake, what would you say? First 14 days, first 7 days, they're widely important. You know what people say to us when we've onboarded them? They'll come up and they'll be like, I've never had this much information. I've never felt like I knew exactly what I was going on until I came to y'all. This is the best experience I've ever had onboarding because it was so clearly laid out. It was like the way that we bring somebody in, we tell them to do something, then we check in with them. Imagine that. Imagine inspecting what you expect. Shocker, our old grandfathers saying all these like isms actually work. It's about high time we go back to maybe the 1900s and pull from great-great-grandfathers and ask them, like, how were you guys successful? And then leverage those basic principles of, I'm going to ask somebody to do something, but I'm going to trust and verify at the exact same time.
No, absolutely. No, it's absolutely great. And, one of the things, let me caveat on that, don't just do it with your people. Do it with the people that you're recruiting for and placing.
Yes.
It's those follow-up processes that the big billers have that the average billers don't. I've seen it time and time again. And of course, it's stuff that I have had to learn within our own recruiting business. But what kind of follow-up structure? 30, 60, 90 days, even a year back. Like, I can't tell you how many $1 million billers are still keeping up with their people that they've placed 1, 2, 3 years down the road because it's a relationship business.
Yeah, and 100%. I bet those people don't want to go anywhere else either. Like they probably have, they're working with that firm, and that's the only firm that they're going to work with ever.
Oh yeah,
there's no reason.
I know it might be archaic, but I would 100% have stationary. In 2023, I would still have stationary, even whether you get some automated company that does it through like, a machine or something, but stationary that's got your logo on it, and you're just sending out whether Christmas cards, whether it's just a 6-month card. Hey, just keeping in touch. How's your current opportunity going? Want to see what's going on. Automate. I mean, the things that you can automate these days on a, I mean, it's just baffling. It's like, how are you not keeping up with people? But it's the same for salespeople, right? Well, I called that prospect one time and they didn't answer. And I sent them an email, but they never replied. Oh, for real? Have you ever been busy? You telling me that prospect might not just be busy? You know what I mean? Like, it's baffling. But
I will say this for talking about handwritten cards. Shout out to Handywritten. I personally can't even read my own handwriting. So I use them, and they use a robot with a pen, and it looks nice, and everybody thinks it came from me.
Nice. I hope that's an ad. Are they sponsoring this podcast? That should be
no, they're not.
Like, go to Elite Recruiter Podcast, / like you get 20% off.
Yeah.
So, okay. So flipping gears. So we've talked about onboarding. Let's take a step back and like recruiting new recruiters and new sales professionals. almost every single person in the recruiting space that I know of somehow stumbled in to the recruiting space. How do you go find and headhunt what could be a great sales professional?
Great question. So what we use is we use a couple different things. So one, depending on the organization that you're at, is what we've found the easiest lever that you can pull in any organization if you're looking for salespeople is great salespeople know other great salespeople, right? And great salespeople also like to make money. So a super easy, like low-hanging fruit, go to the top producers in the organization. Hey, Bob, we're looking for some new people to bring onto the team because we want to grow. Who do you know that would be a great fit to work at this organization? If you bring someone on board, we'll give you $1,000 after they've completed their 90 days with the company, right? Bob's like, oh, dude, I'd love to make an extra grand. And I actually know 5 people that are also doing sales at these other companies, and they hate their job. Let me set up an interview. So I'd say that's one is like internally great salespeople know other great salespeople.
Yeah.
So another piece to that is being inside of groups and organizations where you know you can find other great salespeople. So LinkedIn groups and communities is what we've leveraged. LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups that are geared specifically towards salespeople. Posting in there is a really great way to build your network, to meet other great salespeople that are going to know other great salespeople, but also just point blank posting in there. And then what we've found as of recently that's worked relatively well is actually running Facebook ads as the business. So we will have the business owner film basically a super simple selfie style video that's like, hey, I work at this amazing organization. Here's what we do. Here's what we value. Specifically, we have a whole script that they use that specifically calls out the individual. So if you're hiring for, a real estate company, hey, if you are a salesperson that has real estate experience, we have an amazing opportunity for you. Here's what we value. Call to action. And what we found with that is, that's worked a little bit better than using something like a ZipRecruiter or an Indeed, because if you are posting a job on ZipRecruiter and Indeed, nothing wrong with that. But you have a lot of people that have like just gotten laid off, people that like you kind of, at least on the sales side of things, you're going through like the bottom 10% versus people that see those ads and resonate with those ads. Typically someone who is like in some type of job or role in the past, or they're currently in one and they're looking for a career change. So it's a really good way to catch people when they're like, yeah, man, dude, I freaking hate my job. And the guy that just shot this video, he seems cool. I'd love to like schedule an interview with him.
Yeah. A guy that we're interviewing today, actually later for a company, I said, how did you, I did my first like 15-minute like initial interview. I said, great. Hey, tell me, what had you even interested in possibly transitioning and reaching out to us? Right. And he was like, honestly, I was just bored at my job and I was scrolling on Instagram and saw the ad and the guy seemed awesome and it was his company and it seemed like I aligned with him. I mean, it's that fast where they can create that connection point, but it also is a great vetter to make sure it's like, oh, I don't want to work there. That's
and a lot of people too, like what Josh said is important is it allows you as a business owner to like attract people, what we said earlier, that actually align with like the mission, vision, values of your company. Because in the ad, you're actually able to say, here's what we're about. Here's where our company is going. Here's what we're excited about. Mm-hmm. And that way you're actually attracting people that aren't just wanting another job. Because we're not talking about pay. We're not talking about, OTE or any of that in the ad. We're talking about, here's our amazing company. Here's what we're about. We'd love to have people like you, if this aligns with you, join our team. And it seems to be working really well.
I think that's kind of ingenious, especially since, I know there are a lot of really good people that have been hit by layoffs, but at the same time, like you're doing something different and getting people that are attracted to the mission. So like real quick challenge for us old school recruiters that have been around the block, old school leaders. I guess we need to be in front of the camera a little more.
100%. How would anybody know that you exist?
They're social media and so many things, and being in front of the camera is a new thing for many recruiters.
Yeah, which is fine. Awesome. I'm glad it's new. It's only new if you refuse to accept where it's going and don't actually adapt and adjust to where you're at, because you will get left in the dust. Unless your Rolodex is just crushing, and I'm saying Rolodex intentionally for these old fools out there. Like, unless your Rolodex is just nasty and you've built it for 30, 40 years, you're still going to have a hard time challenging, because the younger businesses that are coming up that need people, that's honestly probably low-hanging fruit for some more veteran recruiters out there. They how do you talk to them? How do you communicate with them? How do they even know that you exist? You know what I mean? And another thing I would challenge them to do is like, well, what do I say? It's simple. Give away your information. When you give away stuff that's better than the stuff you charge for, I think Alex said that, right? It's like, dude, the people will be lined up around the blocks to pay you. So it's like, I mean, I think they need to be on that camera 100%. They have to.
And the industry veterans that are constantly sharing stuff, that is part of also the funnel for your clients. They're the ones catching it. Oh, you're an authority in the space. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like, get on camera a little more, share on LinkedIn a little more, build more content, because that is the future of like social selling. Switching gears, talking about the future. I feel like the structure of sales is the same, but selling in 2023 is a lot different. How has sales evolved?
Ooh, that's good. I believe that it has evolved. Okay. I don't believe that it has evolved as well, though. I think it's just circling back around to what's made it always work. I think sales has always been about solving problems for people. Go back to, I need this cow to, plow my field, or this ox, or whatever, right? And I go and find a person who sells ox, right? So I think it's actually getting back to that, because you had like the whole boiler room effect, and you had all this like go for the no, and then you had used car salesmen. Well, we used to not have cars, so it's like then you had all these people just freaking selling snake oil. So you've always had that, right?
And I think you always will at some point. Yeah,
and I think you always will, because people are corrupt, and we have to work through those people and help them become better. But it's like, I think the core of sales has always stayed the same. What's evolving is the methodologies and how we engage with our prospects. So to me, what I think is changing right now is this. People are getting back to actually caring about the person that they're selling to. They're asking questions as opposed to telling somebody what they needed. I feel like from the 70s, maybe 80s, I don't know. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. It's like, sales used to be about how fast you could talk, how much you could say, how much you could persuade somebody, how much you could convince somebody. I think where sales is evolving is actually being genuine and authentic as a human being and asking questions. We get asked this a lot. Well, how do you know if you're asking a genuine, authentic question? I'm like, do you genuinely care about the question you're asking? Or are you just asking something on a damn script? It's like, if you can't genuinely care about your prospect and who you're speaking with, don't ask the question. Like, don't say anything. Like, right? That's that old school. It's better to say, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all kind of a thing. It's like, if you can't ask a question that's going to help you understand and uncover what they're going through, what their pain points are, what their goals are, what they're achieving, as we call them, anchor points, decision makers, right? Timing, finances, pain, pleasure. If you're not searching that, then I don't think you're going to come to the result or make the sale that you're looking to make. Does that make sense, Benjamin? And I think where it's evolving for me is that I think some amazing principles that have been around for years and years and years, well before this IM world polluted sales, is coming back. And then we're leveraging the positive things of, our social media outlets, the automations. We're leveraging things like that. But you're now seeing it. Somebody hit me up on Instagram yesterday, and I said, hey, I don't need this, but I just want to let you know this was a phenomenal pitch, and it was true engagement. And he engaged with me and was like, okay, tell me more. What did you like about it? And he knew it. He's like, yeah, I just changed it. I was like, this is why it worked, because it felt like this, this, and this, and this. But now he's going to be able to leave and take that and say, okay, this process will work because it's about that prospect, not about, hey, noticed that you just went to Disney World. How often do you go? You know, like, homie, you don't know me. Don't ask me that question. You're like, we're not cool. Like, don't ask me about my kids. You know what I mean? So I think sales is evolving back to the amazing foundationals, foundation principles that it's always had, and then it's leveraging these new tactics, and they're starting to merge together a little bit.
Would you agree? You just meant. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I mean, I agree.
I just said, would you agree? Like, would you think?
I would agree with all of that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think what Josh said, the only thing I would add that, on top of what he said is like, when you're asking questions, you're engaging with people, is when we're training people, we tell them to be genuinely curious, so they'll like listen to calls that either I or Josh have had, and they're like, well, okay, why did you ask that question? Oh, I was curious. Like, I wanted to know the answer to that. Like, and having that curiosity, I think, is what, and as Josh said, being genuine. So I think sales is actually, to piggyback on what he said, going to a really exciting, like, era where you have to actually, like, care about people.
No way, that can't be possible.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
It can't be possible to like do
It's
good in
wild.
life. You have to care about people. That can't be right.
You have to actually care about them and do what's best for them. Like, I know it's wild.
Okay, so you mentioned this guy that hit you up on Instagram, and it was a good intro. I feel like you guys get hit up by salespeople constantly. Salespeople are hitting people up constantly. Is there something now that you have to do different to get in the door?
Different than what?
I mean, let me just kind of like take a few steps back. A lot of times in the recruiting industry, it's a very canned email. It's a very canned call. If actually nobody really calls me for sales pitches, which is kind of funny, but
Right.
it's a very canned message that I know that has been sent to 5,000 other people, and I'm going to delete it. I appreciate the people that like respond to every single sales pitch. Good for you, but most of the time your stuff is being deleted. How do you stand out in today's like world of lots of noise and other pitches?
Are we talking about the person needing the job or the business looking for you to
The business looking
you to come and
support their like and find them potential people, like coming in as the business is going to be the client.
Yeah. Obviously, if it's an email, the most important thing, as I've learned recently, is the subject line. I mean, that subject line's got to be unique and different and real, so that way it just stands out. I'm not a marketer, but I've heard from marketers that has a lot to do with just open rate. So first and foremost, how do we get people to even open said email? On Instagram, it was you've got your shot right there because there is no subject line. It's it. This person was just raw. He was like, hey, this is what I do. Are there any questions that you have around this topic that I could answer for you right now? And I was like, that was brilliant. I might want to ask you a question, but because I honor his process, I wasn't going to waste his time because I wasn't going to buy anything. But someone else would actually start asking questions. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think what makes you stand out is your authenticity, but you do have to be intentional and creative. What is your end goal? What's the goal? If you're a business and you want to hire a recruiter to find cats for you, right? What's your end goal? Like you want what position and you want this. Okay. Hey, that subject line's got to be powerful. If I'm calling people, I'm going to be consistent. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep going and going. If I really, really wanted, like if I wanted Benjamin, the great recruiter to recruit for me, I'm going to hit you up multiple times. And I'm just going to be like, listen, we need somebody and we need them now. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about you. I'm going to talk to you as a person. You know what I mean? And the thing is, Jake can speak to this more. You can actually make that a general email that you can still send out to 5,000 people and it sounds real and authentic. But it's all on how you word it and what your end goal is. Jake?
I think for me, so like you always hear, I think it was Gary Vee who Man, dude, I've been following his stuff again. I like didn't follow him for a while. I like removed all my Instagram followers and or like who I was following, and I've slowly started following people again. But I think he coined the term content is king. I want to say that was him. And I think in sales, like consistency and context is king. Um, consistency, because one of the things you bring up is like, how do you like be unique? Well, one of the things before you even like focus on like trying to be the most unique person out there, just make sure that you're willing to play the long game, right? Make sure like if you send them a long form video or whatever it is to intro yourself, you're willing to follow up with that person 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 11 times. There's prospects that I've like followed up with for years and they've never bought anything. And then one day they're like, you know what? Fine. Yeah. Like here's my card. And then context. So the reason I say like context along with consistency is king is with the person that reached out to Josh is they only have so much context around what he does. And so the context that he has to be strategic with how he's going to use it. So if you have zero context, right, this guy doesn't really know a whole lot about Josh and what he does, I think the approach that he went is great. And you'll see a lot of people who do cold outreach do this, which is, hey, so-and-so, my business solves these 3 problems. Like I work with businesses that have these 3 problems. And have you experienced any issues with problem 1, 2, or 3? Like which one would, change your business if you could get it solved? That's a great way to reach out. If you have more context on the person, right? If this is someone that you've had a couple conversations with, and maybe they're not getting back to you about a proposal or contract, and you have more context around their situation, leverage that to reach out to them. Send them like a personalized video. Send them a personalized like voice note. Actually be a real human being. So I would gauge, to answer your question, like I would gauge how you're reaching out to someone based off of like how much context you have. If you have little context, you're going to have to do what, Josh said. If you have more context, leverage that. And we see a lot of salespeople that they're just lazy. That's really what it comes down to. They have people that they have like contact information. Maybe they've had a couple conversations with, they've got notes on them, and the email they'll send is like, hey, just following up. It's like, bro, that's like you have all this information on them and you're not going to leverage any of that. It's just like, hey, bumping this up, seeing how things are going.
Yeah.
So before we go on to more sales stuff, I know I've had conversations with Jake over the years, and I think this is a good conversation for you, question for you too, Josh. Structuring your day, starting it off right and ending it right. What are some of the things that you would recommend for salespeople and a recruiter to structure the beginning and the end of their day so that way they are successful day in and day out?
Yeah. So any of the salespeople that we bring on, we actually will map out like on Google Calendar specific time blocks. So the beginning of your day, when it comes to the production side of things, we want to focus on like low hanging fruit, whatever that is in your organization, because we want to generate quick wins early on in the day, right? So maybe you have a specific sales quota, specific appointments that you're trying to set, whatever that KPI is. I would want to, and we go all the way to, a lot of our clients use HubSpot. We'll have specific lists built. So early on in the day, we will want them to hit the freshest leads possible. So like people that came in overnight, like we want them hitting those immediately, because that's where you're going to see some low hanging fruit. If they get some appointments from that or maybe some sales from that, great. If not, the next thing that we're going to want them to hit is we want them to hit pipeline. People that they've had like some type of conversation with. And the way that we structure our pipelines is we do 7 days to close, 30 days to close, long-term nurture. If you want more information on that, jump into the sales league and we'll give you the whole spiel.
What a plug, Jake. That was a good plug. I'll give you props on that.
So the next thing that we want, they're going to hit the new leads. And then after new leads, we want them to focus on their pipeline. Because again, the goal early on in the day is how can I create a quick win, quick dopamine hit, getting an appointment set, getting a new deal closed. So I'm going to focus on that. Towards the end of the day, what we'll have them hit is what we call active leads. Active leads is typically a lead that is like 15 days or older, but they're engaging with our content. They are opening emails, responding to text messages. These are typically like larger lists, depending on the size of your organization. This could be a list that's like, a couple, like 5,000 people. I've seen them as big as like 20, 30,000 people in this list. So that's the next thing that we're going to want to hit and focus on is like active people who are old leads, but active. And then at the end of the day, all of our sales reps at the end of the day is we do what's called an end of day, where we basically have them fill out information. Like the first thing there's metrics, like what we call their inputs. How many dials did you make? Appointments did you set? Deals did you close? Cash you collected? Revenue generated? All of those things, all of the numbers things. And then at the end of it, we want them to actually do a reflection on the day. And specifically, we ask questions like, did you work out today? The question we ask is, did you protect your biology? It's a yes or no question. Like you either on or off. Like, hey, I ate well, I slept well, I worked out, right? You either did those things or you didn't do those things. And then we'll ask questions on like overall reflection on the day. What did you feel like you did good? What do you feel like you didn't do so well? Because we want to make sure every single salesperson, as they're taking time at the end of each day to look at like what went really, really well, and what didn't go so well. And then after they've submitted that, we want them to plan out the next day. And a lot of times the day's similar. It's the same similar structure, but maybe upon your reflection, you're like, you know what? One thing I did well today that worked really, really well is I hit this specific list, or I use this specific talk track, or I called these leads at this time, or I have a follow-up with this person at this time. We want them to map that out on their calendar. And then when they wake up in the morning, they don't have to think about it. They wake up, they like open their laptop, and they don't have to think about like, and this is a huge issue with a lot of salespeople, and I don't know if it applies to the recruiters that you work with, Ben, but so many times people wake up in the morning, they're like, okay, so what am I going to do today? Right? That's the worst place. You spend a freaking hour trying to plan that out. Do it the day before. You're going to hate it because it's the end of the day. It's the last thing that you want to do. But when you wake up in the morning, it's so much easier because you know exactly, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And that's how you create consistency. So,
and I actually, and real quick, listeners, I actually learned about the end of day report from Jake. It's keeping your metrics and tracking everything super important, but like going into some additional details about and things to think about at the end of the day while you're also planning is an absolute game changer. So if you could take at least one thing away from this podcast, spend 1 week and implement an end of day report at the end of your workday before you go on to your evening activities.
Yep.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the only thing I would add would probably be a 30,000 foot view, which is, doesn't matter if you're a sales professional, doesn't matter if you're a CEO, a teacher, no matter what you're doing in life, if you are planning it out and you are telling your calendar what you're going to do, time is treated just like cash. You have to budget your time. If you do not tell your time where to go, it's going somewhere no matter what. So I think it is widely important. If you want to be successful at anything in life, then you have to have control and you need to budget your time every day. I budget my time to make sure that not only am I being successful in the business, but I'm also being successful as home, as a husband and as a father. I budget, and so does Jake, our time with our kids. People might think like, oh, you're setting aside time to be with your kids. I sure as hell am. Because the only way that I'm going to get to our numbers that we want to get to grow at the level that we're going to have, and to have the life that we're going to have, is I also have to budget time working, but I also have to budget time to stop working and to go make memories and moments with my family. And if you don't do that, you're literally constantly just playing, Russian roulette every day. And I'm telling you, if you want to be successful in any business that you're working in as a team member, or if you're the owner, you have got to have control. You have got to put your parameters around your day and lock it in. And then exactly what Jake said, consistency. Consistency will compound over time and do more than you could ever imagine.
So before we move on to the quick fire questions, is there anything else that you guys would like to chat about sales?
I just
I mean,
feel like we talked
for
about
hours
a
about
lot of
this.
it. I would simply just say get help. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. Get help. I mean, you can come work with us. You can go work. There's a lot of great programs out there. There's a lot of great people that you can learn from. But stop trying to learn how to do it on your own. You need help. You can expedite your journey. You're going to pay for it one way or another. You're going to pay for it in time, or you're going to pay for it with your money. Why waste a greater asset of time when you can just spend a lesser asset, which is money, and get help from somebody on something? And that's the fastest way, I think, to put kerosene on the fire.
Jake?
Practice. That's the only thing I would add is sales takes practice. I mean, that's what we do in the sales league is, every single week we do what's called a sales scrimmage, and we have the guys throw them in Zoom rooms and they go toe to toe for about 45 minutes. And so on top of what Josh said is like, don't try to do it on your own, but you also need to practice, because it is a skill set. It is the sport of business. In a way, and I just got into sports, so I shouldn't be talking about this. I just started watching basketball.
No, go ahead, go for it, bro.
And soccer.
Awesome. So, Jake, real quick before we go on to the quick fire questions, watch the Tour de France this summer. That's a crazy team sport.
Oh yeah. I'll check it out, man.
So jumping over the quick fire questions, what advice would you guys give to a brand new recruiter / salesperson that's just starting off this career in 2023?
Jake?
Brand new recruiter that is just getting started. Man, dude, honestly, if you're brand new, sounds silly because it's just what Josh said. I would go find someone that has done and is currently doing what you want to do, is making the money that you want to make, is living the life that you want to make, has the business that you want. Go find them and either pay them to show you how to do it, or ask them who they paid to show them how to do it. That's what I would do. That's the easiest way to get things, is find someone who has what you want and then ask them how they did it. And you might have to pay, a couple buckaroos, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah, I would say fail fast. The faster you fail, the quicker you succeed. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Stop trying to pretend like you know it all. If you're brand new as a sales pro and you're brand new as a recruiter, don't try to go toe-to-toe with somebody that's been in it for 40 years. You ain't got it. Accept the fact that you're new, and what you lack in skill set make up for in production.
Love it. Same question, but for people that have been around the block, been in the industry for a while, what are some of the things that they need to do to really set themselves apart and succeed?
Be
or
adaptable.
Continue to succeed?
Yeah, be adaptable. Don't fall in line with you can't teach old dog new tricks. You do that, you're going to get shut down real fast. Adapt, adjust. It doesn't mean abandon what got you there. It means continue to add to your tool belt. Continue to add to. Be open to the new things that you're saying, oh, I don't want to be open to, or I don't like that, or that's some new hyped up thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. People said the same thing about the internet. Said the same thing about cars, said the same thing about television, said the same thing about Twitter, Facebook. So you can keep saying oh, that's just some fad, or you can get your happy ass up and try to see how can you leverage it to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Awesome. What's your thoughts on artificial intelligence and sales processes right now?
It's going to destroy the world, but you might well use it because it ain't going anywhere. That's my quick fire. That's my rapid fire answer.
Yeah.
Is there? Oh, go ahead, Jake.
No, I think it's going to make sales 1,000 times better. I think what it allows salespeople to focus on the more human side of things. So I think if anything, you're going to see sales teams get smaller, but you're going to have more lethal salespeople on your team.
You guys have a favorite sales tech tool at the moment?
Favorite sales tech tool?
Zapier.
Yeah, I can't really think of that. I mean, I kind of love Alloware right now. That's what we use for calling all of our clients.
I do love Alloware. We love
Alloware's
HubSpot. It's the greatest CRM that
HubSpot's
exists on the
great.
planet. We are
Honestly,
HubSpot.
HubSpot's probably going to be my favorite.
Yeah.
That feels like a lame answer because it's not like new and shiny,
Listen,
but like
here's our tech stack to success. It's super simple. HubSpot, Allaware, Slack, Google. Everything else is fails in the comparison.
Love it.
yeah.
Is there a book that has had an impact on each of your guys' career and lives?
Yeah, I would say for me, the one book that was like really, really game changing is a little tiny book called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. Yeah, it's not a sales book at all, but just it's a good book and a good reminder that like taking a beat and just slowing down in life in general is not going to kill you.
Yeah. I'm not a Ryan Holiday fan, so I'm very disappointed in your answer, but I'm going to let it go
Yeah.
anyways. I want to punch him in the face. I can't stand that guy. Actually, I love his book, Obstacle is the Way. That is a great book. I would say sales book. I'm just flopping over here. Don't worry about me. No, don't take anything I say seriously. I would say from a sales book, since you asked about sales, because I have a ton of books, but that's had the most impact would probably be Never Split the Difference. So,
Okay,
by Chris
awesome.
Voss, yeah.
For each of you guys, is there been a thing or like that has had impact on your success that you could share with the audience?
100%. Belief and conviction. All the skill sets in the world, I'll take my belief and my conviction over who I am and what I'm capable of, and I will put it up against the greatest tactically trained people in the world. Because you can't take that away from me. You can't rob it. You can't steal it from me. And as long as I'm feeding that bad boy, I'm unstoppable. Because I succeeded in sales, not because I had skill set and tactics. How could I have them? I never did it before. That's something you have to earn. That's something you have to practice. That's something you have to be consistent at. That's something you have to care about and actually master your art and skill. But I still had success at the beginning because I had an unshakable belief of who I was, which created conviction. And conviction happens by honoring your words to yourself. Basically, if you say you're going to do something, just do it. You say you're going to make 50 dials, make 50 dials. That builds your conviction. You say you're going to close a deal, then you close a deal. And you do everything in your power to make sure that happens. That alone will allow you to lay your head down at night and rest and say, you know what? Maybe I didn't achieve what I wanted to today, but I did everything possible. And that's going to build your conviction day in and day out.
I think for me, that was a phenomenal answer. I think for me, that has
Thanks,
one thing
bud.
that has had, that has helped me the most is honestly just to think of things differently. So one thing that's like helped me stand out among like any other sales rep is how I do things. Specifically, like just if I need to make 100 dials in a day, how can I do that in like the least amount of time possible and still have the most amount of impact? So putting restraints on how I do things, and it has forced me to come up with some like innovative ways to be like more efficient. That's why my answer around AI, I think, is like, I love AI because I think it's going to make salespeople significantly more efficient. Because the way that they've been doing things for so long is like, hey, I can get the same amount of work out of one sales guy that it typically took like 4 or 5 people to do.
Awesome. And question for both of you guys. Everything that you have learned, everything that you've experienced, everything that you've gone through, if you could go back to the very beginning of your career and sit down and give yourself advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I mean, it's what I said earlier. For me, at least, it's be okay with being uncomfortable. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I would say probably my greatest professional failure is not enjoying failure and not enjoying the time that it takes. I'm always trying to time compress everything that I do, and I think sometimes in life, it just takes time. It's like I love smoking brisket. Like that's my favorite thing in the world to do, and the best briskets aren't the ones that come out in 3 hours, they're the ones that come out in 13 hours. So it's like, I think if I could go back and just say, hey, it's okay that all your dreams aren't going to come true in 3 months. It's okay that your dreams aren't going to pull off in 6 months, but stay consistent and stay steady. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, I think for me is ask for help sooner. I have a tendency, and Josh even knows this because sometimes I'll fall into this now, is I try to like do everything on my own versus like reaching out. So like if I would have done that sooner, is just getting help sooner. Did what I said earlier. Yeah. Find someone who has what you want and go ask them how they got that, and then just do what they did. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before I let you guys go, is there anything else that you guys would love to share?
Y'all should do whatever Benjamin says to do. If you're listening to this podcast, it means that you need help, and you should make sure that you're getting the help that you need. Also, just care about people. I promise you it will go farther than you could ever imagine.
Yep. Be genuine. Be genuine and actually care.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I definitely want to say thank you guys for coming on the podcast. Sales is one of those things, at least in the recruiting industry. It's so much of a part of our day, even though we don't want to deal with it. We fight it. And one of my biggest mistakes in like when I first started my recruiting career, I was getting pushed into a sales position, and I fought it nonstop. I hated it. It was a great opportunity, but I didn't want to make that move into sales. Yeah. You know what? I personally believe skipping that sales training probably took a few $1 million away from my personal income.
Oh, yeah.
So, the faster you can learn sales, understand sales, and become good at it, the better you're going to be as a recruiter, the more lives that you're going to impact. And, you're going to make a lot more money. So, Jake, Josh, thank you guys for coming on the podcast, talking about the one skill set that can completely change your guys' life.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the opportunity.
It was awesome.
And for the listeners, guys, until next time.